All right, guys, this is Lionel and Lamar back for Game of Thrones Season 2, Episode 4, titled Garden of Bones. This episode was I think it was pretty interesting. It was short. It was short and sweet, but it was good. I want to start with the beginning. We see some Lannister soldiers, and they're just kind of like talking, making jokes. They make a joke about Renly and how he's having sex with Loras. Then like they hear something rustling in the woods, and all of a sudden Rob's wolf, which is Grey Wind, I don't know if you
Grey Wind?
Grey Wind is
Didn't
his
know
wolf's
that.
name. Rob's wolf jumps out and just like demolishes these guys, which I liked. I figured you liked that because you liked when Bran's wolf freaked
Oh
out
yeah,
too.
I'm in love with the wolf.
Yeah, I know, and that's good. So, so Rob's wolf attacks them, and then we see him show up, and he's talking to a guy, and we haven't met that guy yet. His name is Roose Bolton.
Okay.
So he is a new character. He's one of Rob's bannermen. So basically, that just is someone who he is the lord of one of the castles in the north, basically. And he is supporting Rob right now in the same way that like that Umber guy was that got his finger cut off. Yeah. So uh so that happened, and I just wanted to like talk a little bit about that scene, and when Rob meets this girl afterward who is actually like helping this injured person because like his leg has been all messed up.
So are they at Tywin's camp? I noticed there were red tents in the background.
Rob?
Yeah. So
No.
those two Lannister soldiers in the background, I saw two red tents.
Oh, it probably wasn't Tywin's camp. It might have just been some Lannister camp. But yeah, I don't think it's where Tywin was.
Gotcha.
Just because we see him show up at Harrenhal later.
I mean, he doesn't mean he.
Yeah.
So, yes, Rob has marched on to this camp, and the guy, what's his name again?
Roose Bolton.
Roose Bolton. He says that there have been 5 Lannisters killed for every one of their soldiers that was taken down. So Rob is continuing to show his military might, essentially, in laying waste to any of the enemies that he's coming into contact with. And there's a conversation that he has with him about the soldiers, the Lannister soldiers, who are still alive and who are basically, in Rob's eyes, prisoners. But the other guy, what's his name again? I'm sorry.
Roose Bolton.
Roose Bolton?
Yeah. Roose.
Roose?
Yeah.
Okay. He says something to the effect of that they're going to be tortured and maimed and treated very badly, basically. And Rob's having none of it. He's saying, these are prisoners of war. We're not going to kill them. We're not going to torture them. But also, one of the reasons he says that, besides it being the honorable thing to do, the Lannisters also have prisoners of their own, and he's not going to incite any payback or revenge against his daughter or his sisters because he decided to torture these men on the battlefield. And Roose disagrees, but because he's king of the north, he goes along with it. And they approach, or Rob does, this lady, this nurse, helping a soldier who's on the ground, and he's one of Lannister's soldiers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no. Actually, yes, he was, because they get into it a little bit because she is saying, like, hey, this person was more or less innocent, and your men just attacked him. And his point was like, well, yeah, I'm at war. These are my enemies. But she said that she was from Volantis, and we don't necessarily... That's not in Westeros.
Okay.
And so I think that that's important, and I don't think that that's spoiling anything for me to tell you that. But I think that the reason I wanted to tell you that is to demonstrate that she doesn't have the same stake in things that like other people around there have.
He's been maimed, and his leg is essentially it needs to be cut off. It needs to be removed. And he's down there squirming, saying, "No, don't do that. I want to keep my leg. Don't make me a cripple." And Rob runs over and he says, "You have to lose that leg." And he puts a napkin or handkerchief in his mouth. Says, "Bite down on this. You don't want to look." And the nurse proceeds to saw his leg off. And they Rob and this nurse, what's her name?
Talisa.
Talisa.
I'm not sure if they. Yeah, she might have said her name.
But I didn't catch it.
Yeah. Talisa is her name.
Talisa and Rob, they kind of argue about this particular soldier and his circumstance. She is a third party. As you were saying, she doesn't have the same stakes in this battle, this war. So she's looking at it from an outsider going, there's this war going on and innocent lives are at stake and you don't necessarily care, do you? That guy was a fisherman from some other village. He was given a spear and said, "Hey, you have to fight with us now." And now all of a sudden, he just lost his leg, and it's your fault. And Rob is saying, these Lannisters, they killed my dad. And she was like, "Did he kill your dad?" And Rob's like, "This is a war, lady. we're fighting for our lives." But from her perspective, she doesn't necessarily understand this loss of life over a goal that Rob doesn't even understand. And she mentions that, once you overthrow Joffrey, what are you going to do then? And he says, "I don't know. I don't care. I just need Joffrey dead. That's my revenge." And
Is he? I'm not sure if Rob is like vengeful necessarily. I think that he needs to remove the Lannisters from power because they're destroying the realm.
So, from what I gather from that scene is he wants to kill Joffrey. That's what he said. It. He said those words.
I know. Of course, that's the way to. I don't know. I pictured Rob as being having a little bit more depth to his ambition than that, I guess.
Fair enough. However, from her point of view,
yes, okay, I understand. Yes.
All she sees is you want to kill Joffrey and then go about your merry way.
Yeah, okay, I understand what you're saying.
But what does that really solve?
Yeah.
That is the question that she poses. And Rob is actually taken aback by the question because, the Iron Throne will be empty. Someone needs to sit on it. You've killed the previous inhabitant, so to speak, and now you're just going to leave. What have you accomplished, basically?
And it's interesting because it's so funny because like I feel like in Rob's head and in the eyes of the people in the North in general, they're kind of just thinking like we're independent. So Rob is our king. That chair doesn't mean anything to us anymore. And so like it is funny that like I don't think that she necessarily like knows that. Like, I don't think that she necessarily knows that Rob doesn't really care what happens to the South. But, like, I think in her head, she's trying to figure out, like, like you were just saying, what happens after this? But it doesn't click to her that, like, that is not important to the Northerners. But, yeah, so just what did you think about that whole scene in general?
I liked that Rob continues to show that he is a leader. And we talked about having this one dimension of just being about vengeance. But they are at war. He is a general, and there are rules of engagement.
Yeah.
And he intends to follow them. And, he's not going to let his emotions get the better of him and just slaughter all the people who are still there.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that character trait that they displayed for us.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think it's really interesting how the show I don't know if you noticed this so far, but like there are plenty of episodes where there just like aren't certain characters in them, even like big characters. And so I think that that's something that's really cool, is that like the show takes its time and gives each character a chance to like have their arc play out, so you can actually understand what they're doing and why. And so with Rob, for example, like I think that this was a good like teaching moment for him, because it brought up the question of like, what does he do after this? Like, does the North, like if the North wins their independence, are they just not gonna like mess with the South anymore? Like, even if they are independent from them, you would think they would need to work with them in some capacity.
And also, will the South agree to this?
Exactly.
So are they still gonna have to fight this war with the South.
Yeah.
Because they don't believe you can succeed like that.
Exactly. Okay, yeah, so is there any other thoughts on that?
No.
Okay. So next I want to go to King's Landing because we see, speaking of Joffrey, we see some interesting stuff happening with
Yep.
Joffrey and Sansa.
Yep.
And so I'm just going to let you I'm just gonna let you just go crazy with that because I have been waiting for that scene ever since I asked you that question of who has it worse. I've just been waiting for these things with Sansa to happen. So let's just talk about that.
Okay. The show has completely jumped the shark with this Joffrey character, just off the deep end, and he is. I don't know if I was necessarily looking for him to be redeemable, but he is no longer redeemable after this episode.
I feel like I'm surprised it took this long.
No.
Chopping Ned's head off wasn't enough.
No, I get that. What happened now? Just all the things that happened with Joffrey. I can. Oh my goodness. Okay, so
Okay, because we didn't even get to the stuff with the whores yet. So
all of it.
Yeah.
Joffrey has learned that Robb did slaughter all of those things. And a story is told about how that battle went, actually. Yeah. You talked about magic and sorcery and an army of wolves that just tore up all of these people.
Which is awesome, right?
It
sounds really
awesome.
cool.
He also says that Robb's soldiers ate the soldiers, that the Lannister soldiers.
Doesn't that kind of speak to how this world works in a certain way? A battle that just happened sounds mythical.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's kind of.
I think it was more propaganda.
Yeah. That's true.
Just to incite.
But I mean, even still, the way that they included these weird mystical elements into it. I just think that's really interesting. How it's they're building legends at the exact same time. You know.
Well, hearing this story, I don't know if necessarily hearing that story sent Joffrey over the edge, but the news certainly did. And he has this crossbow. It's not a crossbow, actually. It's a bow. Might be a crossbow.
Well, it might be a crossbow.
A bow and arrow. The actual mechanism that he has might be a crossbow. Tell me if it's a crossbow. Well, he's got it aimed at Sansa. She's on her knees, 15 feet away. He's on the throne, of course. And he says, your brother needs to pay for this egregious act. He's not here, so I guess I'll punish you. And she's sitting there on the ground, groveling I literally had nothing to do with that. You know that I did it because I was here with you. How is this my fault? I had no idea this was happening. We learned at the same time. I heard, then you heard. And I wasn't there. And he's like, he's your brother. And she's like, whatever my treacherous brother does, still trying to gain sympathy as he has a crossbow aimed at your face. Whatever my treacherous brother did, I had no part of. And he's like, well, I need to send him a message. And then he says, except Cersei insists that we keep you alive. So I'll send a different message. And he has one of his guards basically beat her up. But he says, leave her face because I like her pretty. I want to punch all of your teeth out. So Joffrey. This knight hits her in the stomach, hits her in the back of the leg with a sword. But do we want to get to what happens, or are we just talking about Joffrey right now?
What happens with the whores?
No, with Tyrion.
Oh yeah, no, we can.
Okay.
Let's get into all of that.
So my hero comes along. Tyrion walks in like the baller that he is, and everybody parts because they understand what just happened. The King's Hand just walked in. So Tyrion goes, "What is this? Why are you? What is wrong with you, Joffrey?" Essentially, are you serious? And then he looks at the knight like, "This is an unarmed girl. You're really gonna? What kind of knight are you?" Mm-hmm. And the knight says, "I'm the knight, the kind of knight that obeys the king." So Tyrion walks up and he's like, "Joffrey, why are you doing this? What is wrong with you?" And the knight has something else to say, something to the effect of, "Don't threaten the king or the king's guard in the presence of the king." And then he asked his what's his friend's name?
I can't think of who you're talking about.
The one that Tyrion is riding with.
Oh, Bronn.
No, not Bronn. Is his name Bronn?
The sellsword?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Oh.
his name's Braun.
So he asked Bronn. He's like, next
The one
time.
who defended him at the Vale.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Braun.
The next time this knight talks, kill him. And I'm like,
oh, that's yes, Sir Meryn Trant. That's who we're talking about. That's the knight.
oh, the knight. Okay.
The knight that they said to kill.
Gotcha. So, he threatens him specifically, and he asked for some garb, a dress or something to cover up Sansa. And Joffrey, it's funny because he wants to say something to Tyrion. He wants to punish Tyrion, but I think he's afraid of Tyrion for some reason.
I mean, like, I think Tyrion's the only person, because like Jaime is his father, and like, but he doesn't know that, but he kind of knows. Or do you think he knows?
I think
because he asked Cersei about it. Yeah, he asked Cersei about it, but like I said, I wasn't sure what you thought about whether he actually knew or not. But yeah, no, like it's interesting because like Jaime is his father, but like never really was his father, like openly. And then Cersei just kind of always let him do whatever. But Tyrion consistently was the one who like would actually like do
their
something.
First interaction he slapped.
Yeah, exactly. So. And also like the Hand of the King is basically like the king's handler. Like in a sense, like Robert was even, I wouldn't say afraid of Ned, but like he understood Ned's position, you know, like in that Ned could actually like had some sway because of that, the fact that he was Hand of the King, regardless of the fact that he made him hand, but still, you know.
But
and for a child king, like he knows that like that's what that position is there.
And I think because he is a child, if there is an actual authority figure around, he's gonna probably cower a little bit. And I think we saw that in that scene
for sure.
But Tyrion walks over to Sansa, and he extends his hand so that she could get up. And then as they're walking out, he apologizes to her. And then he also says, he asked her, does she want this engagement called off? And she says something to the effect of, no, Joffrey is my one true love and my king, or something like that. And she walks out of the doors, and a few steps behind, as he's talking to Bronn, he says, Lady Stark, she may survive this after all. And I think he was speaking to her mettle and her resolve.
Yeah.
Like, Sansa knows she's in trouble, but she needs to fight this however she can.
Yeah.
And for that goal that she has, specifically, or partially, and also for her family, for Arya, for her father, for Robb, and her mom.
Oh, you're giving Sansa more credit than I've heard anyone besides myself. So yeah, I just really like wanted to focus on what we saw with Sansa and like how that spoke to her character, because we've seen her as this naive girl, and I mean it's not that isn't naive anymore, but she also like finally understands the situation that she's in. And I think the proof of that is when she says, I'm loyal to Joffrey, because she probably doesn't hate anyone in the world like she hates Joffrey, but she knows that she can't say anything, and that's something she didn't always know. And so I think that's really, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, there's definitely some growth with Sansa.
Oh yeah, like I think like it's not that, I think honestly from the characters we've seen and from the Starks in general, I would say she's displayed the most growth so far, because Robb didn't really, I mean, do you think Robb grew into this King in the North role? He kind of seemed like he was already like that.
Yeah, I don't think there was as much growth as we're seeing with Sansa.
Yeah, and like Bran, we haven't seen him really grow. We've seen him change. Because he went from being this happy-go-lucky kid to being a cripple. But, and I mean, obviously there has been some growth with that. He's like, he's learned to accept certain things. He's learned to like live his life a different way. So yeah, you can call that growth. But I think as far as like growing in this world and understanding how to survive, like they're showing us a lot of that with Sansa that we're not seeing with the other Starks necessarily. Obviously there are other characters. Like I guess actually no. I was really only talking about the Starks just now, but Daenerys has grown significantly.
Yeah,
oh, really? Okay, I can't wait to get to that. That'll be fun. But yeah, okay, so was there anything else? Oh, yeah, so I want to talk about Joffrey abusing those whores now.
So
Because, like, it's just funny because it's like you get that scene with Sansa, and that's already, like, more than enough. But then they're like, no, we're going to keep showing you how terrible Joffrey is.
so Bronn and Tyrion are discussing what just happened with Sansa, and Bronn suggests, maybe he just needs to have sex. He's got a lot of pent up rage and emotion, and he can't really do anything except do a crossword puzzle. That's not what he was doing, but I forget what he
Yeah.
said. So Tyrion's like, "Oh, you really think that'll help? Bet." So we see Joffrey heading into his quarters, and the Hound,
Was that the
or was it
Hound?
the Mountain? Not
It was the
Hound.
Hound. It had to have been the Hound. The Mountain's not
Yeah.
him.
So the Hound meets Joffrey at his door and like, hey, Tyrion, he has a gift for you. It's in there. So Joffrey walks in and he sees the two whores, and one of them walks over to him and tries to undress him. He's like, no, go kiss her. There are two of them in there. So they start kissing, and he has this look on his face. I'm not really sure what it was. He was just creepy.
Mm.
And he says, "Can you hit her?" And I thought like punch or slap.
Yeah.
But I guess hit means spank because she just bent over and she started spanking her.
And it was kind of funny because it was like, oh, okay, that's all he meant by that.
Right.
And then it's like, and then it gets
right.
Yeah.
So he watches her spank the other whore, and he spanks her a few times. So he looks on, and then he walks over to her and takes off his belt, and he says, use this. And he says, spank her harder, harder, harder. And I'm thinking, you're just a sadist, and I can't deal with you anymore. I need you off the screen. There's going to come a point, fingers crossed, where you die, and I need it to be in the worst way possible. But wait, there's more. He takes this banister, this rod, and it's got these horns on the top of it, and he says, "Okay, use this now." I'm like, what? And then he starts loading his crossbow again, and it's revealed why, one of the reasons why he's doing this, and it's to get back at Tyrion. He wants to show Tyrion that he can't just tell him what to do without there being repercussions. But he's cowardly. It's not going to do it to his face. He's going to just send this bloody whore back to him. But the show, like I said, completely jumped the shark, and they really want us to hate Joffrey for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't need another reason, but they gave me two more reasons. I can't. It's awful. It's just all bad, and I can't deal with him anymore. I don't want to see Joffrey ever again. I'm done.
So what do you think Joffrey's lifespan is?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because who's gonna? So for me, because I've seen this and I'm an outsider, I want his lifespan to be like 10 minutes. But no one's going to tell the king not to do that. Is the punishment for this behavior death? What's he going to do from this point on that someone's going to, okay, now you have to go?
Well, but Robb, Renly, Stannis, there are people after Joffrey already. Not the people in King's Landing,
sure.
but he has enemies.
But I don't necessarily believe that the Lannisters are just going to allow any kind of army to come in
Gotcha.
and just kill Joffrey.
Interesting. Okay. That's
soon, anyway.
Yeah. I'm actually really glad that you said that, because we see a little bit of... Well, actually, hold on. Let's talk about Tyrion and how he catches this boy, Lancel. I don't know if you remember him.
Yep.
Yeah, so he was the one who was Robert's cupbearer or whatever.
Yep.
So he catches him, and he's basically he's found out that he's been sleeping with Cersei.
Right.
And it's so funny because it's just hilarious because Tyrion is yeah, my incestuous sister is sleeping with yet another one of our family members. what's new. And I just think that that's really hilarious, because like it doesn't come up as any sort of like problem outside of like something that's leverage for him,
Right,
you know.
right.
And I just thought that that was really interesting. So let's just talk about that scene and how that played out.
Cersei wants that old guy, that Maester. Was it the Maester or was it somebody else that he took prisoner?
Oh yeah, Maester Pycelle, yeah.
She wants him released, and Lancel
Yeah.
has this note from her telling Tyrion to release him, and Tyrion looks at him and he says, "Why did Cersei have you bring this if it's so urgent to her? Why wouldn't she just come and bring it to her herself? Bring it to me herself?" And Lancel has all these excuses, but Tyrion kind of picks at Lancel and picks on him, and he tells him, he gets to the climax of this conversation, and he reveals that he does know that they are sleeping together, and he kind of chides him and he says, this is really what you want. And Lancel's like, well, I have to. The king told me I had to do this. And Tyrion's like, oh, okay, well, you can't defend yourself? This is so terrible. You are forced to do this. She held a gun up to your head. Like you could have just left. You could have just said no. And he was like, no, I had to. I had to. And then Tyrion says, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna go tell Joffrey. So Tyrion says, it's okay if you keep sleeping with Cersei. In fact, I want you to keep sleeping with her because I need you to tell me everything that she does and everything that she says, who she meets with. So just stay with her, but just be faithful to me as well. So he has taken another piece of this puzzle and fit it into his game. We see him get rid of those two people who were disloyal to the previous Hand of the King, and he also now has a messenger that is going to give him all the information that he needs about whatever is going on with Cersei so that he can keep tabs on her when he's not speaking to her directly. And it's just typical Tyrion fashion. He's more intelligent than a lot of his family actually gives him credit for, and I'm not sure if they really understand, but they're probably going to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really funny because like the Lannisters' view of Tyrion, it's so funny because it's just like, have they seen him, like have they listened to him speak his
Right.
entire life? Like how do they not understand that he like is smarter than
Yeah.
them? I don't know. I just think it's funny, but it's just, I'm glad that that's something that you picked up on because it's hilarious. And I mean, to be fair, it's really mostly Cersei and Tywin.
Sure.
Jaime has done some bad things to Tyrion, as he said in the, when he told that story. But like he did that at his father's request. I don't know if he really would have. I don't know. I don't know if you're supposed to believe that Jaime is as awful as
Oh,
the
sure,
other
yeah.
two of them.
With the few interactions that Jaime and Tyrion have had, it's been pretty cordial.
Yeah.
Pretty respectful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's definitely then just, Cersei and Tywin.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so now I want to go over to Renly's camp.
Mm-hmm.
So we see Renly there, and he's like kind of being smug and stuff. I can kind of tell why you don't like him. I liked him. I like him as a character, but anyways, he gets this offer from Peter Baelish, and basically, and this is what I was talking about like Joffrey having enemies. I don't know if you caught this line, but Peter says to him, I know you don't like me, and I don't care, basically, is what he said, which I thought was kind of funny. But he says, I know you don't like me, but when you come to King's Landing, you can either be facing a siege or open gates. Yeah. And so there was a little bit of intrigue there. But I guess that shows that, like, because of the people who are moving pieces around, there are threats to Joffrey. Yeah. And so I want to talk about that and like what you think might come of that.
So I guess then I'm confused now by what he meant. Was he saying that he has an army and he'll let him in and overthrow? Because can Renly beat the army at King's Landing with only his 100,000 men? Or is he going to let him have his golden army, Peter,
Yeah.
also? But another avenue that could mean is he saying, come to King's Landing, fight with the Lannisters against whoever might come to take over the throne?
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're
So,
saying.
I'm not sure what he meant, but I do understand that he is offering, you could come to battle at King's Landing, or you could be welcomed, and then something else. So that something else, I'm not really sure what he was referring to.
Okay, so do you think that Littlefinger was trying to get him to support another party, or was he trying to facilitate making him king by letting him into the
I
city?
thought he was, because Tyrion sent him there, I thought the offer was, hey, go convince Renly to not be against us, but be with us.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking is
Okay,
happening.
gotcha. Okay, cool.
At the same time, though, he is very shifty, so it
Yeah.
could be something else.
Yeah. And then so we see that conversation happen, but then right after, well, actually, this is a little bit later, but we're gonna talk about this because I want to stay on Peter Baelish for a minute, and then we're gonna go back to Renly and that meeting he has with Stannis. So we see Peter Baelish talk to Catelyn, and it's so funny, the audacity of him. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm just like, first of all, her husband just died.
Yeah.
Second of all, she's known that you were in love with her whole life and didn't care.
Yeah.
So what are you doing?
Yeah.
And so I just thought, I was just like, why?
I also thought it was very incredulous, and maybe he's been doing this entire time, but he keeps calling her Cat. And like, no, that's not okay.
But it's also like, I was just gonna say it's like how I call Daenerys Danny.
Right, but call her Lady Stark. Call her
yeah.
Catelyn.
Well, I mean, that.
They might be friends, fine.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's okay. That's all.
I understand. Do you mean like from the perspective of a married woman, or from the perspective of she's a high lady?
Have more respect for this woman.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that like, I don't know if that's that much of a problem, because she's like one of the few people who calls him Peter instead of Lord Baelish. Most people call him Lord Baelish, but they know each other.
Gotcha. No,
And like they literally they grew up together as children.
that's fine. If that's the relationship that they have, I accept it. I just don't like it.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
So yeah, he professes his love for her, and he grabs at her.
That was weird.
I'm like, no, again, have some respect.
That's the part where like it's not.
It's the same for
yeah,
me.
yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I guess I'm just like, he's not Lancel Lannister, he's not just some random person. Like, he's a high up person too, and on top of that, he also knows her. So I think if he were like just some random guy, like even if he was a close friend of hers, like, but just that whose status in that society was lower, I would understand what you're saying. But they're both kind of up there as far as like their like social standing
It's
goes.
all the same to me. So, he has a message also from Tyrion, and it is, we have both of your daughters.
Mhm.
They're safe, they're healthy, but at any point that could change. Let's just swap them out for Jaime and call this good. Now, that's a lie. We know that.
Mhm.
But did he lie intentionally? Does he know Arya isn't there? Or did he just
I'm trying
say
to think
that?
of if he left before Arya went missing. I think that he might be lying. I think it might have been intentional.
Okay, gotcha.
Because like I think that he was there after Arya disappeared, but I don't really remember.
Okay. Well, either way, he can't say we've got one of them. Let's trade. So, Catelyn responds like, "No, I can't just trade two girls for Jaime Lannister."
Well, actually, what she really says is Rob's never going to agree to that.
Right.
Yeah.
And Peter says, "Well, I'm not talking to Rob. I'm talking to you. Rob has never been a mother. He's not going to understand. You want your daughters back. I'm giving you an avenue to get them back.
Yeah.
Just give us Jaime." And she gets upset because he's not listening to her, and she pulls a knife on her, or
She
pulls
pulls a knife on him. Yeah.
and tells him to get out. and then he invokes Ned, and he has this chest brought in, which I assume has his head in it.
Yeah.
And he says that he was an honorable man. Ned was. He deserves to be buried under the grounds of Winterfell. So
I was wondering if it was like his bones or if it was his head, because I know his head was on a spike, and so I don't know. I mean, someone could have taken it down.
I'm pretty sure Tyrion had it taken down.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm thinking. What it was.
Okay.
Or it could have been all of him.
Yeah. I mean, it was a pretty big chest.
So, and Peter says that it's a good faith gesture. We really want this trade to happen. Here's our first peace offering to you. Here's Ned's body, essentially. And he goes on to try to sweeten the deal some more, and she just tells him to leave. But Peter, stop it. Like, as you were saying, Ned literally just died. You're trying to move in already. I know Tyrion said you might have a shot. But
which was weird. That's the thing. That's the thing about Peter Baelish and his obsession with Kat. And I mean, that's what an obsession is. But it's just it's so odd that he thinks that that right after her husband died, he just is it's just fair game.
She'd be okay with the mutiny. Really? You literally stabbed him in the back. Literally stabbed him.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That is true. It's hey, remember how I kind of caused your husband's death?
Right.
Let's get married.
Right. Come on, Littlefinger.
I just think it's so funny.
Oh, goodness.
But yeah, no, Peter's funny. But yeah, I just really I loved the fact that even though Catelyn was really not wanting to have anything to do with him, she couldn't help but be intrigued by the idea though
of having her daughter.
Yeah, exactly. So it's even though she really hated him, she got some stuff from him, and so she's gonna have to wrestle with that. Any other thoughts on that?
No.
Okay, so then actually before we see the scene with Renly and Stannis, we actually see Peter doing a little bit more tinkering around when he talks to Marjorie.
Yep.
And I loved that scene because I love Marjorie. But I want to talk about that scene and Marjorie's response to him kind of trying to get information about Renly and Loras.
Yeah. He's trying to get Marjorie to tell him that Renly is sleeping with Loras. And he wants to know how long that's been going on and why. And why isn't she by his side at night, because she mentions that she has a tent. She calls it my tent. She says, I know where my tent is. And he says, my tent and not our tent, which leads him into, asking about Renly's sleeping arrangement and it being with Loras. And Marjorie asks him, have you ever been married? And he goes, no, I've been unlucky in my romances or my affections.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, apparently marriage is confusing to you. So let me explain it. Renly is my king and my husband, and my husband and my king. There's your tent. I'm going to go. So she's basically just not having any of the nonsense that Peter is trying to dish out. But I don't understand why. He's just a snake, I guess, and he just wants to know stuff. But I'm not sure what having that knowledge gains him.
Yeah.
As far as leverage.
Especially it's one of those things this is the difference between and the show actually showed us at the beginning of this episode, but this is the difference between Jaime and Cersei and Renly and Loras. The Jaime and Cersei stuff, I think that's high level rumors. Only people who are in the know kind of understand that rumor, but everybody has heard the rumor about Renly and Loras. I mean, there was this random soldiers talking about it, So I mean, I think that I guess to me it didn't really click to me why Littlefinger felt like he needed to have Marjorie confirm that when he could probably convince anyone of it very easily without that,
And I guess, would it pose a threat to her family or somebody? maybe it's leverage. I don't know, but yeah, he wanted to know and he wanted to have it confirmed. Maybe he so that he could say, "Yes, I have firsthand knowledge of this."
Yeah.
She told me, but yeah, he wanted to know, and
I
she.
mean, I guess yeah, but I guess to me though, the thing about that is like he doesn't need to say she told me because people are gonna believe it anyways because it's
Oh, I
already
don't know.
no. That was just my read of
Yeah.
the situation. I wasn't like yeah. I don't. That was just there are certain there are certain things when like intelligent characters will do something that like doesn't seem so intelligent, and then I get like it like throws me off.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, I just thought that was kind of interesting. But I liked the like the back and forth between them though because like that was too because like you see a lot oftentimes you'll see characters interacting who aren't really like on the same level or like close but like you could tell that that was like two people who were playing the game
Right.
and like who understood like you're trying to play me, I'm trying to play you, we both know what's happening and like neither of us is it's not gonna go anywhere.
Right.
And I thought that that was interesting because and even like the language he was using of like the marriage of a wealthy girl is gonna like be of interest to people and stuff like that. And she was just like, yes, but you don't know anything about marriage. And so it's just the way they went back and forth at each other, I thought was really cool. And I think that that also again spoke to Marjorie's character of like, I have this goal, whatever it is. Like she has something she's trying to do,
Right.
and she is not going to mess with anybody who is trying to like come between her and what she's doing.
Yep.
And I thought that that was interesting. So, what do you think about Marjorie, Renly, and Loras as a unit? What do you think about that group in general? Like now that Marjorie's a part of it, does that change how you view that
Not
situation?
yet,
Okay.
because I haven't seen the three of them together doing anything.
Oh, okay.
So we've just had this one scene with her talking to Littlefinger, and we've got other scenes with Renly and Loras off doing other things, but they're not together conspiring to do anything.
Okay, okay. I just didn't know if you. I guess I wasn't sure if you were able to like see how she fit into the picture yet, and like, oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Um, because yeah, that's I don't know. I like I like the I just like their tactics and stuff. I kind of like the way that they, even though Renly is a little frustrating because he's not taking it seriously enough, I would say, as the biggest thing. But now that we're going to move into that conversation between Renly and Stannis, as we talk about this, I kind of want to know, like, what your, like, updated opinions are on Stannis and Renly, each of them as individuals and how they compare to each other and how they compare to Robert. But first, let's talk about that scene and what happened.
We've got Renly, some of his soldiers, and Catelyn on horseback. And they are met by Stannis, his people, and this witch, the one who's dressed in red. And they are discussing the battle plan. Stannis is trying to convince Renly to march with him on King's Landing, but at the same time concede the throne because he believes, and he's pretty much right, that the throne belongs to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's the rightful heir since Robert is dead. And Renly is not having any of it. He basically says, the throne will be empty, and there are a lot of people who want it, and there are also a lot of people who don't want you on it.
Yeah.
So you can just kick rocks, basically.
Mm.
I got this. And Stannis says, no, that's not how this is going to go down. You're either going to ride with me or I'm going to destroy you. And Renly just laughs him off. And he also asks about his banner. And it's a stag inside a heart that's on fire.
Yeah.
And he asks him, what's the deal with your banner? And what's that lady's name?
Melisandre.
Melisandre. She describes that he has taken his own sigil, and it represents their religion.
The Lord of Light.
The Lord of Light. And then Renly again laughs that off, and he wants no part of it because he hates Stannis. And before Stannis rides off, he goes, I'll give you the night to think about it, but you make your decision, either ride with me or I'm going to destroy and he leaves. And before Renly rides off, he says to the group, "I loved him once," and then he rides off. Um, and the Baratheons. There's some deep seated anger in that family.
No, nothing worse than we've seen with the Lannisters.
I think it's worse.
Really?
It's more subtle, and the reasons for it I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Like whatever happened that killed that relationship between all of those brothers.
Yeah.
There's something that
Something happened. Something must have happened. Yeah. Yeah.
Like they've got
The way they speak about each other, it's like, I think the interesting thing about, I guess here's why why initially I thought the Lannisters were worse. I feel like the Lannisters have like some of them have like intense hatreds for each other, whereas the Baratheons just have like an intense like what is that word? What is the word I'm looking for? Just like indifference to each other almost. Like the Baratheons just like don't want anything to do with each other. Is what it seems
both.
like. Okay.
There's an indifference and a hatred.
Gotcha.
And I think for the Lannisters, it's on display.
Yeah.
We know that they hate each other.
Yeah.
And we know why.
Yeah.
We've gotten a few of the reasons. But Robert, he mentions that he never loved any of his brothers.
Yeah.
Stannis doesn't feel favorably about Robert.
He straight up said that he didn't love Robert too in that letter when he died.
And Renly now says, "I once loved him."
Yeah.
So they had this falling out, and maybe it's just because they grew apart and they just don't know each other. They don't have any good feelings about each other. But I think that there's some ill will there.
Yeah.
And I want to know what that is.
Okay, so that
That's
intrigues you a
interesting
little
to me.
bit. Okay.
However, specifically Stannis as a character.
Stannis, you need to stop doing that.
I can't. Jeez. Stannis.
Like, this is not a Marvel movie.
Oh, I wish it was. Stannis. I don't feel any more about him than I did before. He wants the throne. He feels like he deserves it. And he also feels that he has this protector behind him that's just going to help him win this fight.
Okay, so you're not like... How are you perceiving his relationship with Melisandre? Because, like, I find it interesting, too, that, like, Renly... If we're just isolating this war because to the two of them, because it's a huge war. But if we're just looking at just these two armies that seem to be close to going up against each other, Renly just like has an army, just has like a normal army. But Stannis has some kind of weird religious army.
Yeah.
And so like I just kind of want to see like how do you feel about that, and like how do you feel about like the fact that like Stannis is kind of using this like dark magic almost? Like does that add to his character? Does that detract from his character, or is it just part of it? It
detracts from his character because it makes him seem silly.
Gotcha.
And it may be unfair to the show, but usually when a character joins forces with something that they don't understand, it doesn't go well for them.
Yeah.
And I just see that happening.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't know what Melisandre is, or what she can do, or what her goal is. So he just believes she is by his side with this force, this magic.
Yeah.
And it's gonna help him. I don't see he tries to resist previously in a past episode. When she says, put a baby in me. You're like, no, I'm married. But then he has sex with her anyway, 5 seconds later.
Yeah.
And this new religion, the Lords of Light or whatever it is, he's just on board with this. Or maybe he isn't and he's just going along with it, but that's the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't believe he really understands what he has given to Melisandre.
So you think that he maybe doesn't know what he's bargaining for.
Exactly.
Okay.
So he just seems like a fool to me.
Gotcha. Any more foolish than Renly?
Yes.
Gotcha.
because Renly is at least grounded in reality. And I know that that's also unfair to the show because there is magic, there are dragons.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But like you were saying, like even like for example, Melisandre doesn't really seem silly to me at least from this like at this point
Right.
because like she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
Like she knows whatever like this god, this magic, whatever it is, like she has command of that.
Right.
So I don't really see her as like not knowing what she's doing, but Stannis has just jumped on ship
Right.
with this thing that he doesn't know what
Right.
it is. And so I think that that's what you were
Yeah.
that's how I interpreted what you were getting at.
yeah, and I want no part of it. Renly, I am gaining respect for Renly because I am hearing him talk. He's this is slightly disrespectful to Rob, but I see those two characters paralleling
Okay.
at this point. Because he's talking as if he is a war general. He has this command of an army, and he understands that he has this army. He understands other people want this army, and he has his own goal and mission with his own army. And he's talking to Stannis, who has proclaimed he is the king. Like, I don't care. You came to me because you want my soldiers, you want my numbers, but really, I could take you out. I know that you've got that Melisandre there with you, but I'm not too worried. And he says, Stannis says to him, you think your banners are going to win you this war? And Renly replies, no, the men holding those banners are going to win me this war. So he's not afraid, basically. And he wants that fight. Also because he doesn't really care for Stannis. But he just seems more... So when we first saw Renly and Loras, I said that he was very timid and shy, and he didn't really know who he was. But now I see who he is now.
Yeah.
And
Okay, yeah, because that was like your main thing with him. You were just like, I don't know who you are, what you want, and
Right.
you didn't really like that.
Yeah.
So the show has given you enough
I've
of
got
what
some
his
definitions.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's good. Because I find the Baratheons to be pretty interesting too, actually. And it's so funny because like Robert was one of those characters who got cut short, like he was taken from us too soon.
Oh my goodness.
He's still your favorite Baratheon
Yes.
though, right? I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I watched the show so quickly that I think that like I didn't even have enough time to feel sad about Robert because I watched the show so
Fair
fast.
enough.
And so I was really like, okay, Robert's dead. I guess I got Renly, and Renly was gay. So I was like, that's a plus for me.
Fair enough.
And so I was like, okay, cool. But then like Stannis came into the picture, and like immediately I didn't like Stannis. I was just like, for a lot of the same reasons that you say, I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with this like fire lady?
Yeah.
Like, who is the Lord of Light? That is a concept that like no one else is talking about on this show except you, and you guys are burning people. Like, so I just don't understand. Like, I was really confused. And so I was just like, I can't do the Stannis thing. But I was like, whatever. Stannis the Manus. People, you'll hear that.
So
but
hold
yeah.
on. You could say Stannis the Manus, but I can't call him Stannis. Okay.
Okay,
Cool. Let's move on. Move on.
Because the only reason is because you're literally like talking about Thanos. Like, that's why.
Fine.
Although it is funny because like it makes me think of Stan from American Dad,
That's hilarious.
which I just like because they call him Stan the Man in that, which I just think is really funny. I don't know if there is actually a parallel between the two.
No,
Like as far as I'm saying like as far as why people started saying
Oh.
that. But anyways, I just think that that's funny. But yeah, no, Stannis is what he's doing with Melisandre. We'll see what happens. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, I'm glad to know that you have kind of like picked a side on that situation, though. There are lots of sibling rivalries in this show, so it's always fun to like choose between them. Okay, and so let's get to Arya because we haven't talked about that yet. So Arya arrives at Harrenhal, and that is a new place.
Mhm.
We haven't seen that yet. So let's just talk about that, and then the torture that was going
Mhm.
on. Some very like weird specific torture that was like looked really effective and also really terrible.
I've actually seen that
Oh, you
in
have?
other things.
Oh, okay. I've never seen that before.
Um, and at first I didn't understand it because he reached into this cage, grabbed this rat, and put it into this bucket. And I thought, are you just gonna throw it on him? If so, why not just throw it with your hand?
Mhm.
Then I thought, oh, you're gonna put his feet in the bucket.
Yeah.
But then he strapped the bucket to his chest. Like, oh, okay, they're gonna heat that thing and it's gonna crawl through him
Yeah.
or bite. Through
It's
him.
gonna eat through him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've definitely seen that torture before. And these people are looking for the Brotherhood.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
I don't know who they are.
The Brotherhood without banners.
So yeah, they're trying to figure out where they are, and a few people, they don't know who or where they are, or they're not telling anyway.
Yeah.
And the last person they strap to the chair, he does have some information, and they kill him anyway. But then Tywin rides in, and one of the guards says, we weren't expecting you until tomorrow. And Tywin's like, whatever, I'm here now. Why are all these people not in cells?
Yeah.
And the response is, well, we've got too many prisoners.
Yeah.
And Tywin's like, well, what are you gonna do with them? And they're like, we're gonna kill them. What do you think we're gonna do with them? And Tywin's like, well, these are able-bodied people. They could be fighting or making weapons. Like, why are you just killing them? This is a waste of resources.
Yeah.
Essentially. And he walks through the prisoners, and Gendry now is strapped to this chair, and he's about to get that bucket strapped to his chest, and that's when Tywin interrupts, and he looks at Gendry, and he says, do you have a trade? And Gendry's like, I'm a smith. And Tywin looks around like, really? He could be making swords. You're gonna kill him. What is the deal? So get him out of here. And he also has an interaction with one of the other guards who has Needle, and he is assaulting Arya, and he says, "Get down, little boy, or I'll kill you or cut your throat." And Tywin looks at him, and this doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Tywin looks at Arya and says, "That's a girl,
Yeah.
dressed as a boy. Why do you look like that?" And Arya very smartly says, "Well, it's safer to travel this way."
Yeah.
And Tywin's like, "Oh, okay, I see you. Get her out of there. I need a new cult here.
Cupbearer. Yeah.
Cupbearer. What is that? Just a person
Someone who brings like wine and stuff, like what Lancel was doing.
Gotcha. Now that's interesting because he literally has Arya in his grasp.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I really like that the show did that.
It's so funny because like the the biggest problem the Lannisters are facing right now is not having Arya, and they have her and don't know it, and that's so funny. Yeah, I'm glad that you picked up on that. And it is interesting, and you obviously like people like aren't going around like with cameras back then, but like it's interesting that like we saw that like Tywin has this like keen eye almost, like he's not stupid, and so we saw like he's like, okay, no, that's a girl, like I don't know why you guys think that that's a boy, but it is so funny that they showed that limit, I guess, of like he doesn't know it's Arya, so he still has a limitation, but they did show that he has this cunning that the other people around him don't have, which I thought was really interesting. So I'm pretty sure you're super excited to see where that goes, because that looks like some interesting stuff.
I also need her to get Needle back.
Oh, okay. You think she's gonna get it back?
I got my fingers crossed.
Okay, cool. Anything else with Arya?
She was reciting names.
Yes, very important. She talks to. Do you remember her talking to the guy who was talking about his brother, the Night's Watchman that saved her?
What's his name?
Yoren, I think might have been his name. Man, so hard. All the names, but I think there was like she was talking to him and she was saying like, how do you deal with it? Like, how do you deal with like all of this like violence and awfulness that you've seen? And he says like there was a point in time where I couldn't sleep before I said all of these names.
Oh.
Yeah. And so that's what she's doing right now because like, and did you hear the names that she
I
said?
heard Cersei, Hound. I think I heard Joffrey. I know that it seemed as though it was a list of people she wanted to kill.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I needed to know. I just wanted to know if you like picked up on that.
Yeah.
So what do you think that means for Arya that she has this kind of like preoccupation with wanting to get? Because like I think that when you mentioned Robb being vengeful, my mind immediately went to Arya
Gotcha.
because I see her as the one who's in that mindset, whereas I see Robb as just someone who's at war.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, what do you think that means for Arya, and like what are you thinking that we're gonna see like from her down the road? Because like, I think with Sansa, it was like there was no way we were going to be able to see anything coming with Sansa.
Right.
Like that was all out of like the furthest left field ever.
Yeah.
But I think, do you think that this is like a surprising character arc for Arya, given like obviously some of it's surprising because we didn't know her family was going to be in this position, but like, is this like out of character for her, or does it seem like something natural for her?
It seems natural because of the things that she's already been saying about the kind of person she wants to be, and the kind of person she doesn't want to be.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be like Sansa.
Yeah.
She was very grateful to Jon for giving her needle.
Yeah.
She wants to learn how to fight with that sword and to be a warrior and to be a soldier.
Now let's go over across the sea and talk about what was going on with Daenerys. So we see her finally get to the edge of the Red Waste, and she approaches the gates of a city called Karth. And upon approaching these gates, the 13 come to greet them. And basically, like, she's there to ask them to let them into the city, which because basically like they're gonna die if they don't get into the city, and like we can see that blatantly, like they're on their last legs. And she encounters some trouble, and she has a very strong like visceral reaction to this rejection. So let's just talk about that.
So these 13 and the people of Karth, they are really excited to have the chance to meet the Mother of Dragons, and specifically to see these dragons. And actually, one of the conditions of allowing these people, Daenerys and these people, into their city is to be able to see these dragons. Well, Daenerys pensively turns around and looks at the boxes or the cages where the dragons are, and she turns around and says, "No, I actually don't want to show you these dragons. How about you just let me in? My people are literally about to die. If you close your gates, we're just gonna die right here."
Yeah.
And the merchant of spices, he says, "You know what? No. The reason that we're even considering this is so that we can see these dragons. We don't want to just let these Dothraki savages beyond our walls and just tear everything up and murder us and take over."
And realistically, were they wrong? Because I
No.
mean, like the Dothraki are, like you just said, for all intents and purposes, they're savages. Like they don't have like a traditional like custom, and so like it actually makes a lot of sense that they wouldn't have wanted to let them in, which begs the question of what happens next. Right. But yeah, we'll continue.
And the merchant also says, the Karth is the greatest city of all time, greatest city that there has ever been and ever will be.
Yeah.
And we didn't do that by just letting strangers into our land. So Daenerys then has this very angry and violent outburst, and she basically threatens the city of Karth. She says, when my dragons grow up and I'm on this quest, I'm going to take back everything that was taken from me. And on my way to doing that, I'm just going to burn entire cities, slaughter entire peoples, and nothing's going to get in my way. If you don't let me in, if you continue to deny me access to these resources that you have, you'll be the first people I come after. And somebody steps forward from the back and says, let's just take a breather. Let's take a moment and then talk about this. Just let her in. Let her and these people in. They're clearly dying. They don't really pose a threat. It's okay. Let's just let them in. And the merchant of spice says, "No, we're not having it. You go sit back in the back. I'm talking."
Yeah.
And he takes out the other one. What was his name?
Zarondoxus.
That guy. He pulls out his sword and he cuts his hand and he takes his blood oath essentially, and he says, "I'll vouch for her and these people."
Yes.
We've just seen on display. You can't be surprised that the mother of dragons is watching her people die and not breathe fire, and he has some compassion for Daenerys and these people who are on their last legs, as you said, and he's just welcoming them into their city for sustenance.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to let these people die either. So, Daenerys coming so close to failing these people just got really upset and really angry and really frustrated that a few feet away is food and drink, and a place to sleep, and if they weren't able to get in there, she will have led all these people to their deaths, taking them from their homes, from their traditions, from their way of life, to these walls that weren't going to open for them. And she's like, "I'm not having it. So let me in, or in 20 years I'm going to come back." They're going to be dead, but don't worry about it.
We don't know how long it takes dragons to grow.
That's true.
But yeah, no. So given the context of that whole situation, like, was it first of all out of character or unjustified for Daenerys to say what she said and the way she said it?
No, it was not out of character. I am completely on board with her setting things on fire after seeing her literally set a person on fire. So
and walk into it herself. I mean, I think she was pretty aware that she wasn't gonna die. But like, so yeah, like you see the Targaryen-ness in her though, right?
Yeah. So the dragons are very important to her.
Yeah.
And she believes that they hold the key to whatever success she is trying to have.
Yeah.
She believes that she has command over these dragons and the fire that they're going to breathe. Yeah. So she is a dragon. I'm fully on board with her being a dragon.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I think that's like that's something interesting because Daenerys, she, like, for example, like Miriam Mazdur, the witch that she burned, had just killed her husband and her child, basically. Well, Drogo was already dying, but like she facilitated Drogo's death and she straight up murdered her baby. So there was no other option really but to burn her. She could have done it another way, I guess. But like Drogo filled her with her fire, like he said. How much of this do you think is because of Drogo, or do you think that she would have, in some other fashion, became this way anyways because she's a Targaryen?
I believe she would have become this way anyway, but I believe that having her husband and child taken away didn't help.
Yeah, and at least like it was the catalyst for like where she is now. But yeah, like you were just saying, like this fire that's in her was in her already. He just like brought it out, kind of. All right, now to wrap it up, finally, I want to talk about what happened at the end with Melisandre. So your girl Melisandre, let's just talk about that because so first of all, it's great because, like, I think it was literally last episode that she has sex with Stannis, and she's like, "I can give you a son." And then you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, like, apparently something's wrong with his wife. We don't know what's going on with his wife, but she's going to give him a son. They're going to have sex. And in 9 months, she'll be pregnant." So it's just so funny how when Davos takes her into this cave, she just opens up her robe. And honestly, the fact that she was like 9 months pregnant was enough. Like, we didn't even need the rest of the scene. It was like, how are you this pregnant already? Let's just talk about that and what you thought about that.
I'm going to be honest with you. I literally can't take her seriously. She reminds me of Famke Janssen's Phoenix.
I don't
from
know.
the X-Men, the
I don't know who
first
that.
X-Men trilogy. She was the Phoenix,
Oh, okay.
the one in red.
Yeah, was that not? Oh, that's what that lady's name is. Oh,
Famke
okay.
Janssen.
Is that a bad thing? I like that Phoenix.
It's Phoenix, not as whatever this is. She just looks so out of place.
Yeah.
And I can't deal with her. I need her to not be in the show anymore. So she jokes with Davos.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to see what's under this robe, don't you?
Yeah.
You're gonna see what's under this robe. Don't worry about it. So it reminded me of that episode of Family Guy where Lois opens up and there's Peter under.
It did look just like
That's what
that.
I thought about.
That is so funny.
So again, I can't take this seriously, but and then she just walks over and Davos sets down this lantern in front of this gate, and this gate wasn't there the last time he passed through this area. So he's given up. He's gonna go back to the boat, and she goes, "No, don't worry about it. I got a key." That's not what she says, but it was more ridiculous. So she takes off her robe, lays it on the sand, and she just sits down like, "Oh, I'm gonna have a baby now."
So let's stop right there for a second, because like, aside from what actually happened, was it already weird enough that she's just about to birth this child there?
Yes.
Is that what you thought was gonna
Yes.
happen?
No.
Like there was just gonna be a
No.
child, or you knew it was some weird?
No, I didn't know. Okay, so we talked already about her having this plan.
Yeah.
She knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
And she's just gonna go about, and whatever opportunity presents itself, she's gonna take the next step. Well, she obviously knows this baby's coming.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how far she would have kept going if those bars weren't there.
Yeah.
Before she revealed, I'm gonna have this baby.
Yeah.
Now. But I guess the baby's gonna be able to break these bars. Whatever. But yeah.
Oh, okay. So that like tipped you off to the fact that whatever this baby was going to be some kind of monster.
Yeah,
thing.
it had to.
Okay.
It was nonsense. So no, I wasn't expecting her to just sit down and have birth. No, I also wasn't expecting this demon to come out either. And also, whatever this demon is, it's fully grown. That's cool.
Oh yeah, like we saw its legs
Yeah.
standing up. Yeah.
It was a whole man. So she's I don't know what she's. I'm speechless when it comes to Melisandre. She's just, and there are other mythical aspects of the show.
Yeah.
I get it, but this is just so far left field.
Yeah.
Everything that she does, and it's just so weird. The wolves aren't weird. Dragons aren't weird. Mir Mazdur wasn't weird.
Really? Okay, because I was actually gonna ask you like how she stacks up
Yeah.
against her.
Melisandre is just weird,
Hmm.
and it's out of place for me,
Gotcha.
and I don't like it.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. But yeah. So what do you think the next move is with that though? Like what do you think is going down? Do you think Stannis like understood really what was in there?
So I don't know, because he asked Davos specifically
Yeah.
to smuggle her,
Exactly.
and he did it because he wanted to have an advantage in the war.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I want to say that he doesn't. I want to say he believes that she has this force behind her in general.
Yeah.
That's going to help.
Yeah.
I don't know if he specifically knows
That there was a demon baby
Yeah.
in there. Yeah, I think that like he understands that she has a plan
Right.
and that her being taken there is part of that
Yeah.
plan. But I don't know if he really understands the specifics of like he has a demon baby. Also, is that Stannis' child? Is it? I mean, it kind of is, right?
Yeah. I mean, unless we're going to say she had sex with somebody else.
Well, no, but I guess I'm saying like, are we actually like giving credence to that thing
Oh,
as his child?
yeah. We have to. That's how it works. I also, and we also talked about how Stannis doesn't fully understand
Yeah.
Melisandre. It could be that whatever she just gave birth to isn't going to be fighting for Stannis.
Yeah.
It just needed to be brought into the
Yeah.
world.
And it's possible, yeah, like you just said, that like she can like not even be on Stannis' side,
Right.
but she just needed him to put that in her.
Right.
And so who knows what's gonna happen now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, anyways, so final thoughts on the episode. Was there anything else that you like thought we missed?
No, can't think of anything.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us once again. Remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We will see you guys next week.